Hey guys, this is a Rob Johnsons Cedar. This model came out from them, I want to say a couple years ago, but I don't know that for sure. I'd say at least since 2023. This particular one was made December 24. Um, this is a company out of Latvia, and for those of you who don't know, they put out really nice machine knives here, kind of Mac knives, machine assisted customs. They've got the Cedar, and then they've got another model as well that's really popular. I want to say that one's called. Let's just look it up real quick. I can give you guys the information. That model is called the Cypress, and then they have another one that just came out called the Hemlock, which has a flipper tab on it. So, anyways, this one's really cool in that it's done in Vanex. So they're one of the only companies out there that does a full quote unquote saltwater build. In the Mac world, where they'll do a Vanex blade, and this one doesn't have it. But they'll also do a Vanex lock bar insert right in here, and they'll call it quote unquote their saltwater build. This one isn't the saltwater build because it just has the Vanex blade. But I digress. Overall, handling it is really nice. You can thumb flick it out, as I fail this multiple times. Reverse flick it. And I'll say the one thing you want to be careful of on this is the lock bar here. There is some pressure, lock bar pressure. Meaning if you're on it like this and you try to thumb flick it, it's exceedingly difficult. Like there's a lot of pressure taking place right now, whereas if you come off of it, right? Like my fingers are mostly on the clip there, and it swings right out. So that's something I've noticed about this knife versus my other knives, like let's say a Rosie or an SPK, something of that nature. Here, I'll spin it to the other side here. It's very sensitive to the lock bar pressure, to the point where at least this particular one, you can roll it out. Actually, it's not so bad rolling out. You just really got to stay off the lock bar. So it's not the most rollout friendly knife, in my opinion, unless you're really thinking about it, right? Like if you're really thinking about rolling the knife out, then you'll place your fingers where they should be, but just pulling it out of your pocket and rolling it out without thinking about it, you'll probably end up on the lock bar. There is a flipper tab too here, and I found this to be exceedingly difficult on this knife. It just really, it's like I'm not going to do it just because the way the table's set up here is just kind of goofy, and I don't want to just sit here and continue trying to do it. It is possible, but it's not, it's not easy to do. And I don't know if that has to do with like just the pivot point here, and the pressure you're applying doesn't quite match with where it should be, if that makes sense. But anyways, I found this to be honest, pretty useless. So if you're a flipper person, flipper tab, don't buy this knife. No, if this is your main deployment preference, I would skip this knife altogether. I will say it's probably the best reverse flicking knife I have in my collection. Very satisfying. It's got a nice sound to it and a nice detent for that. Some knives, when you reverse flick it, it's kind of more of a pain. Not so much on this one. And then thumb flick, possible to do. You just, again, got to watch out for the lock bar. So the quality of the knife, from a machining point of view, is excellent. It's right up there with the rest of them. Everyone's pretty much familiar with, whether it's SPK, OZ, I would put Skiff definitely above this in my opinion. Skiff's probably the best machine assisted custom knife out there when it comes to like just their machining. When you look at a Skiff, if you guys aren't familiar with that, go ahead and check those out. Like a Skiff Asylum, Skiff Accomplice. They're literally just works of art. But I put it with the other guys that I mentioned there. Size wise, feels really nice in the hand. I got small, medium hands, and the grip is perfect for me. And then there's a little bit of jimping on the back of the spine here, which not aggressive at all, and you can actually slip forward pretty easily. So it provides a little bit of grip, but the second you have some sweat on your hands, you're going to find yourself slipping forward. The pocket clip rides pretty deep, right to about there. So not bad. Weight wise, pull out the scale here. Let's see, hopefully we're in ounces. We are, okay. We're at 4.14 ounces, so not too bad with that either. For comparison, here's a large Sebenza, 4.6. So, you know, the Sebenza weighs more. And then speaking on that, let's go ahead and open this up. And then open up the Sebenza. And then I've also got a Strider PT here. Zoom out just a smidge. So you can see the knife, you know, the Cedar here falls pretty much in line with a large Sebenza, albeit a bit larger. However, if you just focus strictly on the grip, it's just about the same. Maybe a little bit thicker towards the rear. And then you've got that really big cutout right here versus a smaller cutout here. And this provides, you know, it really allows your index finger to get some grip and come up. Pull these out of the frame. So that's a bit of a size comparison there. And then, you know, when it comes to machining, this one's got the machined lines in the blade, which I always think is really cool. Let's see if I can pull that. There you go. Really nicely done. And then it's really got a pretty starburst pattern on the grip with the black accent titanium. I think it's a black oxide. It's got a really dull finish, which is kind of like black oxide. So yeah, when it comes to the Cedar, it's definitely a pickup. You know, these things, you know, in the Vanex form and all that, like you see here, I believe retails around $850. Not cheap, but also kind of right in line with the rest of them, right? If you're familiar with the pricing of a Rosie, an SPK, even Skiff, you know, it's right in line with all that. I would say the disappointing thing here is the flipper tab. It's, in my opinion, useless for me anyway. It's not something I can easily do, so I don't even bother doing it when I'm manipulating the blade. Let's see what else. It's really neat that they got the saltwater build. That's probably what I would do. You know, if I was anyone looking into this, is I would just do a saltwater build. Personal preference, but it's unique to them. So it'll probably hold its value a bit better if you care about something like that. Feels great in the hand, great blade shape, and overall really nice machining. For anyone who's not familiar with them, I'd go check them out. It's Rob Johnsons, R-O-B, then Johnsons, JOHSONS.com. And you can see kind of what they have available for order. You can also follow them on Instagram. So it's one of those things where these guys will do drops like everyone else. on knives, and then they'll also offer builds. So they'll put on their Instagram or do a newsletter through their website saying, hey, we've got XYZ knives available for order, and then they'll be up for, say, a week, and then they're quote unquote sold out, and then like 2 or 3 months later they'll open the books back up again. So these aren't like an OZ or an SPK or something like that where they're nearly impossible to get unless you get one on a drop or secondary. These are possible to get if you're paying attention to get on a build. Secondary, they're around there too. Different places like Reddit, Knife Swap and Blade Forums, they pop up and they do take a hit, so it's a good opportunity to just pick one up on the secondary. That being said, when they do come up, they tend to sell fast because they're typically being offered at 10% to 20% below what the person paid from the website. So people take advantage of that. But anyways, here's just a nice overview here of the knife. Hope this helped you make your decision if you've been looking at one of these. Thank you. Bye.